it is hot today. And if I turn on more screens and more appliances, it's going to be hot. It is July 3rd before July 4th. So if you actually haven't seen my video over here, I did a desk setup video and I just finished that. I'm just going to stay on this DJI Pocket then. So one of the things that I wanted to cover today is in-person internship tips. I think at this time when this video comes out, it's going to be in June, which is when a lot of people have started their internships in person. In the past, I made a video over here, virtual internship tips, but this one is in person. So I think a lot of people are going to be like, okay, what are the tips I need to do? Because sometimes a lot of the virtual ones are not going to apply because they're a little bit more strategic with how it's structured. But if you're in person or hybrid, keep watching. This one I think is going to be interesting because things have definitely changed since the pandemic started. So a lot of things have changed a bit because back then, it's very straightforward. This time around, you might have the possibility of being hybrid. You might have some people on your team themselves that are hybrid or like remote. So there's some pivoting you still have to do. It's not the same as before. I would not be giving the same. Most of these tips would be the same, but nowadays the work cultures, work landscape has changed. So the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to be splitting it up to 3 sections. One is office, second is social, and then the third is professional. The office one is going to be very obvious. It's going to be office stuff. And then the social one is going to be more on like the things you should be doing outside of your job as well as your requirements. Professional is more of like professional enrichment or ways to kind of stand out a little bit against your peers, because nowadays with this, I think particularly this internship, it could be tough because with the landscape out there right now, at least I don't know about when you're going to be watching, but if you're watching it in the summer that this video comes out, I have a feeling it's going to be tough to stand out because there are going to be fewer offers out there given the climate. So because of that, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to be competitive. First section's office. One is built in time for changing and commute, always pad time for delays, which is a little bit weird because isn't this the same exact one as before? I'm like, yes, it is exactly the same as if it was pre-pandemic. But, you know, nowadays the same people that have been doing internships is not going to be the same people. They're going to be doing full-time jobs. So this is probably something that you kind of need to think ahead of time. I mean, it's kind of obvious though. It's like if you're going to your job, but at the same time, some people who do internships, this is your first job. So pad time, and I would definitely pad a little bit more time than you think because there's never an excuse for like, oh my God, my subway ran late. Unless it really just like shut down and you're stuck in the like subway tunnel, sure. But for the most part, if you have like traffic, it might actually be easier because some people are going to be remote, some people are hybrid, but knowing a lot of hybrid schedules, I think a lot of the companies I know nowadays, there's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And this is from what I'm hearing from a lot of companies, it's not just Google. But because of that, you might have more traffic than usual Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. But Mondays and Fridays, maybe not too much. So just be aware of that and pad time for delays. So I always give myself, like actually for me, I plan based off of what I have the next day. I don't actually like have a time that I leave for my apartment every single day. So in this case, like let's say I have a call at 10 a.m. So I need a good, and for me particularly, it might not be the same for you, but for me, I know that means I have to be at the office by 9 a.m. if I want to be there for breakfast and like not rushed, because I still want to be able to get my breakfast, enjoy it, read my emails, and then I go instead of like rushing, picking up breakfast and then go. So in this case, you want to pad time because for me, like I have to be at the office by 9 a.m. Then I plan like, okay, my train ride specifically is only 20 minutes, but if I were to be very specific as to like the delays and everything, I always try to be there 40 minutes before because the train that I go on does not run as frequently as the other trains. So I have to be in case of delays and this train schedule. I don't follow train schedules because I know they're always going to be different. Even if like maybe, I don't know, 9:34 a.m. there's like the same train all the time. I know it's never going to be the case. I just pad time and go like I add 20 minutes extra. This is just for me though on the subway because I'm actually pretty close to the office from where I live. But for you, if like let's say you're in LA and you have traffic and you're driving, you definitely should pad like 1 extra hour. So I guess it depends because it really depends on where you live. Are you driving? Are you walking? Are you biking? Are you doing all that? You might want to plan for that. So for me, I've been doing that. But the other thing I have to think about is with my old internship, I always wore the same kinds of clothing. So it was easy for me to understand what to wear. For me, it's actually difficult because it's like casual, smart casual, business casual at work for me. So I have to actually plan my outfits a lot more in terms of like, okay, I can't go business casual because that's not truly what everyone wears. So I have to go to my closet and find out what I can wear. So sometimes I look at the weather and I look at, okay, I think the office is usually around 60 degrees, which is cold to me. So I do try to bring another layer. And for me, New York, we do have seasons, so wintertime will be definitely different than summertime. But to be honest, in some ways, I do plan it the same way, except I'm not wearing sweaters. I'm just wearing like another layer on top that I can easily take off for when I go on the subway. For that reason, I do technically have like another layer I either wear or bring. And I also bring my umbrella, of course, as well. So, okay, I'm spending a little bit too much time on this, but basically be prepared with your clothing. You may want to plan a day before so that we have an idea. Check the weather ahead of time as well, because even though you're going to be going out, you're going to be cold. I guess it depends if you're walking or biking. I know people nowadays that are biking a lot instead of taking the subway or driving or walking. I mean, if you're walking, you probably still need to, but I know a lot of people that actually wear like sneakers walking to the office or going to the office, and then they change their shoes at their desk. If you have a desk, you can do that, but otherwise be prepared to have like a little compartment in your bag. I do have a bag that I usually like put my stuff in, and then there's also a bag I do have that has a shoe compartment, so I sometimes use that as well. So definitely check that out, because you may want to do that. If you're a girl, you might have heels, but personally for me, in my office, I walk around a lot because our conference rooms are everywhere. We have to go different floors. So for that exact reason, I just wear comfortable shoes going in. But thankfully for me, my dress code's a lot more relaxed. I don't have to wear heels or anything like that. I just wear, like, if anything, sneakers, but nice shoes, loafers. Loafers are really nice because they're casual but comfortable. Flats as well. And that's just for girls. For guys, like, I know you can wear a lot of like leather loafers or leather shoes. That try to find the comfortable ones, not the ones that are really rigid that you need to break in. But if you have to, I guess you're gonna have to stick with it. But I know a lot of guys that also bring like sneakers that they put in their bags for when they want to go to the gym after that. So think about that. So after that, we have to care about, and this is such a weird thing to say, but this is something that I know people forgot about during the pandemic, which is so weird. Make sure you smell good and you're clean. Think about your hair. Think about how you smell. Like when you're working from home, you may not have to think about that, but you have to maybe start putting on cologne or perfume. And even so, like put deodorant on as well, because honestly, when you're working from home, it's easy to just be like, yeah, no, they're only caring about my looks. But when you're going in person, you may have forgotten. So you may want to shower a little bit more frequently. But yeah, I'm just going to end it like that. Just you might want to shower more. You might want to put on perfume, cologne. Don't go too strong, though, because you might have to be next to other people that might really not, they might not like the smell, or they might even be allergic to some of it. So be careful about that. But put deodorant, try to smell good. And try to wear clean clothes, too. So then after that, I know a lot of people, this is something that I know is a privilege to say, is that if you can afford to buy clothes for work, then that's a privilege. But if you can't, if let's say for example, you only have clothes that are hand-me-downs, or you only have clothes that you've been wearing for like months, for years, that you've been wearing since like middle school or high school, and you don't have work clothes, this is where you should go to a thrift store or buy wrinkle-free clothing that are versatile. So in that case, I actually had a lot of wrinkle-free clothing. So I went to Uniqlo, I bought a lot of clothes there. So blouses are wrinkle-free, because if you were a guy and you have a dress shirt, most likely it's going to be wrinkled. Like no matter what you do, you wash it, and sometimes you may even need dry cleaning. If you go get actual like good clothing from work, you might need to dry clean it. For me, I'm just gonna get wrinkle-free clothing that I can throw in the washing machine and it'll be fine. So I get the wrinkle-free because I don't have time to iron or steam my clothing. If anything, like the way you should store it could be different. Like if you have the luxury to hang your clothes, which is what I do, I hang all of my tops and sometimes of my trousers. I hang them up so that way they can be lying flat instead of like getting the creases from you folding and putting in a drawer. If you have the luxury, do that. But this is something that I know whenever people make these videos, you're thinking about like, oh, I gotta get a suit, I gotta get a dress shirt, trousers, pants, dress shoes. Go to a thrift store. There's so many good finds. Actually, I found a blazer from there I haven't found good pants because for me particularly, I have a very specific way I like them. And then for shoes, I found so many good shoes there. Like they're already that's the thing, is that when you think about work shoes, they're usually leather shoes. So you have to break them in. But when you go to a thrift store, they're broken in already, okay? So you might as well just get it from a thrift store where they're broken in already, they're cheaper, and you are basically contributing less to the landfill. So go check out like a Goodwill or Buffalo Exchange or any like thrift stores or consignment stores. Maybe not consignment stores are expensive, but if you can, go for those, because those are so nice. And don't sleep on Uniqlo wrinkle-free clothing, which I think is really nice, because Addison actually has a lot of wrinkle-free clothing from them. When he was working at a company that needed dress shirts, he was like, I don't have time for an iron or anything like that. I'm just going to get wrinkle-free clothing from Uniqlo. And I actually got the same thing without realizing that we were getting the same things. But this was before we were dating. So this is what I would say is get wrinkle-free clothing that you do not need an iron. There's out there. Go to the thrift stores, get all of that. And try to like cycle out clothing where it's not that obvious that you're wearing the same clothes. You don't have to wear the same clothes. Personally, for me, I like when you're a girl, you have more options. Like you can wear a sweater, you can wear a blouse, you can wear a dress. For men, you don't really have that luxury. Sometimes you're almost always wearing a dress shirt, dress pants, or you're wearing jeans. But try to get clothing where it's wrinkle-free. And you can easily find these in thrift stores. Like I always see them all the time, because of people either they change to different sizes, or they like grew out of it, or they whatever. Just basically get that if you're in a business casual environment. So social, I'm going to say that this one is going to be the same as like the videos I mentioned before, but just a quick recap. I'm just going to say this quickly. Schedule lunches with your team as an individual. So if you have like 5 people on your team, you want to do 5 lunches with each individual people. So in this case, 1 lunch per individual. Don't do like 5 per person unless you have like really bonded with one. And then you may want to keep up with it too. Then go for lunches with other interns outside of the office, because then you get good intel, you get to get like good relationships, you might build friendships with them, you might go to happy hour. This is the one thing that I get really annoyed at though, when it comes to happy hours, not specifically for interns. You can say no, okay? I think with interns, it depends on the culture, because I've heard of companies where they're like, drink, 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 take a shot, and they feel really pressured because the managing director or their VP or their director is the one that's like, hey, drink up. And then they're like, oh my God, like I need to be on their good graces. I need them to like me, so I'm going to take this shot. It's okay to say no. In fact, it's actually really respectable to say no. I think the only times when there is like actual cultural differences is if you're in Asia. They definitely like really have a drinking culture, and there's like a hierarchy, a really strong hierarchy. Unfortunately, I can't really speak to that because I don't live there, so I can't really say how hard or how easy it is to do that. In the US though, you can't say no. In fact, I will recommend you to say no if you don't feel like it. If like, let's say you have to drive home, or if you have to have an early night and you don't want to drink, you don't have to drink, okay? You hear it now, because in consulting, you're always going to have happy hours where they're like, why aren't you drinking? Just loosen up, okay? It's fine. We're fine. You don't have to drink, okay? That's like the one thing that really pissed me off, is that in a work environment, if you have higher ups, it's going to be like when you're in a fraternity or sorority. If your higher ups or if your superiors tell you to do this, you feel like you have to do it, almost like you're hazing, but you don't have to do it. If you're in a work environment, it's a work environment. Don't treat it like it's like some kind of, well, even if it's not a work environment, but you're with work people, like colleagues and managing directors, and you're at a happy hour at a restaurant or a bar, still be very conscious about how you look, because you do not want to look like you're at a college party. You're still there. You want to behave properly. Maybe, depending on your relationship with the other interns, if you were to go to another place after that, away from your workplace, and you don't have anything that has like your company logo on it, like let's say you have a uniform and it has your company logo on it, don't wear that, then you can maybe let loose. But if you're with actual colleagues where they're managers and bosses and directors, then you need to be extremely careful, and you can still say no. You can just have water, you can have a club soda, you can have seltzer, you can have Sprite, Coke, all that. No one's going to care. If anything, they're going to be really respectable about that. But if you go to a company where they like drink up or else, then that's not a culture for you. In fact, it's actually really good that you found out that that's the kind of culture that they have. You may want to even tell HR as well about this, and you might be really scared about this. So try to kind of learn about what's going on in the company or in the team. If this is like a team culture, if this is a company culture, if this is a company culture, you probably can't do much, especially as an intern. You're already on your way out. But if it's a team culture, then you might want to talk to another team and say like, hey, is this blah, blah, blah. And you might have a mentor or an ally here. But I'm not saying go retaliate and go to HR, but try to be a little bit careful, because if you do want a return offer here, then you want to be very careful, because if you were to rat this team out and then they're the ones that write the reviews like, yeah, I recommend this person, I recommend that, just talk to HR in that case, because you may not even want to risk that. But that's only if it's like pushing you in a really bad way. But to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of companies like that. But if you are in a situation like that where they're asking you to do certain things because you're the intern, or that you should be doing it, then that's definitely not something that you should handle. And if you get fired, if you get a bad review, honestly, that's fine. That you're protecting your safety and your health first and foremost. So it's okay to say no. And I really want to say this because remotely, you can easily say no because you're not doing anything. You're just on a call. But when you're in person, you have to remember that there's a dynamic out there that you may not realize, but there is a dynamic, and you might find it hard to say yes, or even find it hard to say no, depending on what it is. Stand ground because you're an intern. Don't think that you have a lot to prove, especially if it's at the cost of your health and your safety. Don't do it. And then when it comes to professional, then I have a few, is informational interviews. You want to do a coffee chat or 15-minute chat with a director, VP, or managing director in your team. So you want to go a little bit higher than your manager, learn about the team, learn about the company, learn about the business of whatever you're going for. This is actually a really good way, because I think a lot of people in internships, they forget that it's not just like trying out the company, but it's also like trying out the team. If you like the company, you like the work, but you don't like the team, and you want to know, like maybe the managing director or the VP or the director has a specific angle they want to take this, maybe that's not something you want to take. For example, let's say you're in consulting, because most of the people on my channel are interested in consulting. What if there's one particular managing director that was like, yeah, this is doing really well, but we're going to pivot this way. And that's not the angle you want to take. Maybe like, let's say this is a role, this is a team that is in, I don't know, product management. And maybe the angle they want to take is more product marketing, but you're more interested in like product management and software developing, all that kind of stuff. Knowing that angle means that like, okay, maybe I should not go with the sinking ship, because this is not the role I'm interested in anymore. You can also mention like, oh, so it's like, and then learn about the future in terms of like, what are they doing in the future? Because chances are, if you get a return offer, this is what you're going to be doing in the future. So it could mean like relocating, it could mean reassessing, like where people are going to go, what are they doing, maybe different clients, bigger clients, restructure. They probably 100% sure though, they're not going to say anything, but read their body language, read what they're saying between the lines of what they might be trying to say. Because depending on their body language with certain things, they may or may not be doing it, or they may be hiding something. Then you may want to be very specific to about 15 minutes or less, because they are very busy. You don't want to put in 1 hour or anything like that. And definitely check out my tip in this video, because, I'm just going to say it here. But when you're doing these chats, the easiest way for me to tell, and the way I've been kind of doing it, is like, I don't know how much time they're willing to give me in terms of like a call. If like I would ideally want like 30 minutes, 1 hour, but I know sometimes they don't even have time for 15 minutes. So usually I say like, here's my email address, here's my phone number, here's my information, blah, blah, blah. You can send me the calendar invite, which whatever time works for you. Then they'll send it. And then that's where I see like, oh, did they put me in for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour? And then I'll go for the whole hour. But usually in the very beginning, if they say like, oh, sorry, I only have like the first 15 minutes, that's good, because then you can plan yourself and prioritize the questions that you have for 15 minutes. But this is why I like to have them send it, because the other thing is that sometimes you're doing this, if let's say this is a hybrid, if you're doing this in a work computer, then most likely, or if they're doing it from a work computer, then this is perfect, because they can send an invite and then it will work with whatever they're using, like Google Meets or Zoom, as opposed to you sending it and then they have to like log in and all that kind of stuff. So you always want to make them do it, and then that way you have a sense of how much time there's going to be. All right, so that's pretty much the questions or the tips I have. I think honestly the big one is like return to office. There's a lot of things that I'm noticing at the office. I Google that I'm like, you should kind of reassess yourself. But this is an internship, so it's pretty much like return back. But then at the same time, there's some things that you would need to do in terms of like getting that return offer, like getting networking, learning about it. Being able to say yes or no is like a big thing. It's like I think a lot of people feel pressure to say yes, but they're like, oh, my manager's blah blah blah. I want to get on their good graces. It's okay to say no. Okay, that's my biggest tip. It's okay to say no if you feel like your health or safety is being in question. But if you are in a tricky situation, if let's say for example you are in a situation where they actually say go drink, then you may want to talk to someone about it. Be very strategic if you want to be back. But honestly, at the same time, I'm not the one that's experiencing what you're experiencing. I'm sorry you're experiencing that, but hopefully you can talk to someone about it and get that addressed. But thank you so much, everyone. Let me know down below if any of these comments or questions, if any of these tips have resonated with you. Because I know that some of them, people forgot how to like go to an office or work. And like, this is kind of weird. Like, you should know that you smell. Sorry. All right.